Well, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, China is fishing in troubled waters again, helping Islamabad build dams on what is Indian territory. This comes days after the World Bank reportedly said that India is free to continue with the construction projects on its side of the border. Here's more. Pakistan is constructing 6 dams on the Indus River in occupied Kashmir with help from China. Minister of State for External Affairs V.K. Singh told Rajya Sabha. New Delhi has issued démarches to both Beijing and Islamabad, and this may be the beginning of another long-drawn dispute. Hydropower has been a source of friction between India and Pakistan. New Delhi has in recent months fast-tracked hydropower projects worth about $15 billion in Kashmir. Notwithstanding Pakistan's warnings that power stations on rivers flowing on its side will disrupt water supplies. Last year, Pakistan approached the World Bank against the designs of 2 hydroelectricity projects located in Jammu and Kashmir. Remember, the World Bank is the mediator in the 57-year-old Water Distribution Pact, the Indus Treaty. The point is, both sides have been objecting to each other's major dam projects. What makes this case peculiar is the timing. More than 50 days into the Doklam standoff on the eastern border, China is opening another frontier to needle India. It is also a departure from China's earlier stand. It was apprehensive about investing here. Pakistani laws, until recently, did not give it the status of the country's sovereign territory. Islamabad declared Gilgit-Baltistan as the 5th province of Pakistan by a constitutional amendment under Chinese pressure. And now the money has started flowing in. Not to Pakistan's satisfaction, though. It has been trying to woo international investors in the region, but New Delhi's efforts to highlight the dispute have borne fruit. South Korean companies involved in hydropower projects on the Jhelum in Muzaffarabad are reconsidering their investment. Financiers like the Asian Development Bank, the International Finance Corporation and the Exim Bank of Korea have refused to back projects in this area. The only country giving Pakistan's occupation any legitimacy is China, and New Delhi is maneuvering with the right mix of confidence and caution to deal with this dam alliance. Bureau Report, WION. And we have 2 guests, both from Beijing this evening. Professor Madhav Nalapat, who's an expert on India-China relations and who is from the Manipal University. Also with us, Ainar Thangan, political and economic commentator. Good evening to both of you. Professor Nalapat, what do you think is happening here? Within days of the World Bank statement, now the report comes out that China is helping Pakistan build 6 dams in POK.
Well, China is helping Pakistan with a lot more than 6 dams. They are building an entire, economic corridor through Pakistan, which is a project of about $50 billion. Now, this economic corridor is going to need an enormous amount of extra power. So clearly, this is part of the process of providing the extra power for that particular corridor. So that is what is happening now. Now, the question is, what should India do about it? One thing that should be definitely done about it is to ensure that within the Indus Water Treaty, which is very one-sided and which frankly does a lot of disservice to India, but even then, India is not even claiming about half the water that's entitled to under the treaty. For various reasons, a lot of that water is going waste or going to Pakistan. The first thing we should do is to ensure that our own water resources are properly protected. And the second thing, of course, is to take up this matter very, very strongly with the concerned governments and make our displeasure very, very clear, and also ensure that there are some consequences for this kind of action.
Ainar Thangan, how do you see Beijing, the government of China, responding to the statement from the foreign ministry in India that this is a clear violation of India's sovereign territory?
Well, as in many other cases, this is disputed area. But I think there's a larger picture here, and that is, at some point, something has to happen in that area. You cannot simply just use it as a kind of tug-of-war bone between 2 countries. Hopefully, at some point, the local people will be put first, and there will be an opportunity to go forward economically. I think a stable area in there would be more helpful, because it's going to be less likely to be infiltrated by terrorist groups who would want to use discontent as a basis for recruitment.
Do you not see the timing suspect at a time when relations are already not at their best, and that's a euphemism for the way things between India and China have been going, with Doklam still going on. Is the timing not worrying?
I don't think so. I think if you go back, this has been a step-by-step operation. If you know anything about China, you know that it is very much bureaucratic, step-by-step, massive amounts of planning. Everything is put into place way in advance. This is not a country that acts on a whim. They are very, very, very steady in their things. That's part of the reason that they've been so successful economically. So I would not read into this that this is some new front that's being created. I think quite the opposite. I think there's a desire, and Beijing's to have much better relationships with India and to put a lot of this behind. After all, these are two civilization countries that can benefit from each other. They're like two parts of a puzzle that would fit together wonderfully and could redefine Asia and the world.
That's all very well, but China is helping Pakistan legitimize occupied territory. Professor Nalapat, would you say that India's efforts to sensitize the rest of the world about the dispute and how it is not right to invest in this area in the current context is bearing fruit?
Well, to be frank with you, there's only one country that can be of assistance to India, and that's India. I don't believe any other country is going to do anything serious to help India in this matter. But we have an important card to play, and that is the fact that we are a very large and growing market. For example, if every single company that is doing this kind of activity in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, whether they're South Korean, whether they're American, whether they're Chinese, if we can ensure that these companies will be banned from any project in India, then I think that would be a very good step to ensuring that companies calculate the cost of investing in POK as compared to access to the Indian market. The fact is, the problem in India is that we don't use the cards that we have. We use some random card, and when that card doesn't do well, we frankly don't replace it. We have a lot of cards, and one of the cards that we can play is the immense market that we have in India, a market where, frankly, the last year, China made $51 billion of profit.
And the issuance of démarches to Beijing and Islamabad, is that largely symbolic?
Well, in my view, these démarches, I'm sorry to say, will go straight into the waste paper basket. I mean, of course, it's good that they're being made. It's good a record is being created. But the fact is, what counts in China, as my old friend Aina Tangen will say, is comprehensive national power. So I think what India needs to do is to focus on development, double-digit growth, and we need development for a generation. And when that happens, then yes, then our démarches will be taken seriously. But with just $2 trillion compared to China's $10 trillion, I'm sorry, but I don't think they'll be taken too seriously.
Well, it's a slow process, and to be fair, India has invested $15 billion in Jammu and Kashmir in such projects. But I'm going to thank you both, Aina Tangen and Professor M.D. Nalapat, for joining us.